What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. You are on High PSI TV. Haven't filmed in a little bit. Been doing a lot of reviews for welders and LED lights and stuff like that, and I actually have a project today in the shop that I wanted to film, and hopefully this will be helpful for the classic car community, because apparently this is what you have to do. Check this out. So what we have here is a fuel tank for a 59 Edsel. I'll post a picture here while I'm talking. This is for a gentleman who lives not too far from me named Ben, who is trying to get this car back on the road, and unfortunately no one makes a fuel tank for a 59 Edsel 4-door. He told me they made them for wagons and convertibles, I think, but not for the hardtop cars. What we have next to it is a 63 Ford Galaxie fuel tank. You can see size, they're pretty close to the same, but the issue is the filler neck. So what we need to do is modify this tank so that the filler neck looks like that tank. What I'm going to do is set it up on my table here that I made a little bit longer, and I'm going to take a bunch of measurements of the factory tank to try to make sure that I get the filler neck as close to the same spot on the new tank. I don't have the car here. It's about an hour and a half from me, so I don't know. I'm gonna do this, and hopefully everything works out. So I'm going to try to be particular about how I measure and weld the new filler neck on. Now this tank is galvanized, so that's going to be kind of when it comes to welding. But let's get the old tank up there and start taking some measurements of it. Also worth noting is Ben said it's hard to find someone to do this for him. He contacted a couple of guys out his way in North Carolina, and through the grapevine he got my phone number. So this isn't something I normally do, but I thought it'd be a fun little cool project for me to do on the weekend. I finally have a weekend where I can come out in my shop and hang out. Drove the Packard out this morning, so I have some more room to work. And like I said, hopefully this is helpful for anyone restoring an older Edsel or trying to get an older Edsel on the road. This is what you're going to have to do to get a new fuel tank in it. So taking a little bit better look at this tank, obviously you can see it cannot be repaired. It's in pretty rough shape. I think I'll take this bag off of it before I start measuring. But here's the plan. So sitting on a flat surface, right? This tank is square, whereas that one is thicker at one end than the other. But I'm going to level the top of the tank, and then when I modify that, I'll level the top, because this is going to fit against the bottom side of the trunk pan, right? And what I'm going to do is measure from the leading edge out to where the gas cap would go, and then up to where the bottom of the neck will go, and that'll give me 2 points. I'll cut this off right at the end of the tank carefully, and when I get the new one up here, I can use those 2 points to put my filler neck in the correct place. So I'm gonna start measuring. I won't film this part because it's gonna be kind of boring, and then we'll get the new tank up here and see what it looks like. All right, so using my very handy tools here, this is what I came up with. So 10 inches from the edge of the tank to the edge of the neck, right? And then from the top of the tank to the top of the neck, we're at 5 3/8. So I'm gonna set the new tank up here before I cut anything and kind of get an idea of where the neck is gonna be on the new tank. Come on, buddy. Come on. You can find your way out. There's a cardinal stuck in my garage. Anyway, well, he's flying around up there. Here is the plan, I think. So we said 5 3/8 inches from the top of the tank, which I'm going to use this as the top. I'm not going to use this area here. I'll use this. You can see it's a little bit taller. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come out here to the top of this where it reads 5 3/8 of an inch, and I'm going to cut it off straight. And then what I'll do is I'll cut this neck straight and get my length right. I think that's going to be easier than coming in here and cutting all this out, because this is sealed as well. So I'm just going to cut it here and add length to it. So I'm going to get my measurements right, and then we're going to cut some stuff up. All right, so this is my mark here for height, 5 3/8 of an inch. The issue with that is when I cut it, it's going to make this oblong, but I still think that this is a better way to go than cutting way down into here and trying to fit the neck back in and reseal it. So I'm going to make it work. The diameter of this neck is pretty close to that one, so if I need to, I'll slide it inside, get my angle right, and then I'll weld around the neck here. Shouldn't be that hard to do. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this neck off. We have the old neck cut off. And as you can see, like I said, it leaves it kind of a weird shape. Now, unfortunately, the new neck and the old neck are two different diameters, which is not going to make my job any easier. And something else that I'm thinking is there's the rise here in this neck where all the rise is happening right here, and then it's going to come out straight. I don't know if it's going to fit in the car or not. Like I said, I don't have the car here for mock-up, so I'm going to do my best to try to make this all happen. So what I think I'm going to do is I'll just grab a Sawzall, since there is some old fuel in here. I don't want to create a lot of sparks. And I'm going to cut this off here. I already have the measurements, so I shouldn't need to measure again. And then I'll try to figure out my rise and see if I can cut the neck on this tank a little bit shorter. And then it's going to kind of be a weird angle and some weird welding, but we're going to make it work. Okay, so I have a couple squares here to kind of give me the center point, distance, and then height of where the neck needs to go. And this neck has a bend to it, as you can see, and of course it does not fit in here well at all. So what I'm trying to gauge right now is how I'm going to do this. Is probably going to end up something like this, and then what I'll do is I'll heat and hammer down the metal so I can get a better weld on it. But it's also a little bit too tall still. So what I might do is cut just a touch more off the new filler neck to get the height down. And of course, you know, when the tank's in the car, you want the filler neck pointed up a little bit. If I could do it like this, that would be great, but I can't because it'll be too tall. So I'm going to have to cut down on this a touch and still get my length right. So I'm going to kind of wing it and keep measuring, but we're going to get it in there. All right, change of plans again. I have my point set up, and as you can see, when I put this in here, there's a huge gap that I'm going to have to fill. And the reason for that is this was cut in a bend, so the diameter isn't as big as it should be. I had this scrap tubing laying around, and what I'm going to do is cut a chunk out of that real quick, and that will extend my filler neck out. And then I will cut the fuel fill off this guy, and what I'm going to do is tack it in place, and then I'll level the tank as if it were sitting in the car and make sure that we still have enough run for the fuel to enter the tank. So I'm going to cut a piece of that out real quick. Alright, so I've changed my mind once again, and I think this is really going to help make things easier. This is something I do on custom exhaust and intercooler tubing and stuff every once in a while. So you can see I cut the neck at an angle, and what that leaves me with is a little pie cut. So now what I can do is flip it, and that will put me at a better angle running out to my point that the fill cap needs to be at. So what I'm going to do is weld this to the end of this, which is going to be kind of weird because it doesn't really fit. But I'm going to weld that on there, and then this will be my new filler neck. I'll cut it and weld the fill cap to the end of it. Alright, we have our pie cut welded on the end of this piece of stainless. And you can see, once I set it on here, I'll be able to weld it to there, and it actually puts my filler neck right where I want it. So I'm going to cut this a little bit short so that I can weld the old gas cap, which is somewhere there, onto the end of this. So I'm going to cut this real quick, and then I'm going to tack this whole piece together, make sure it's right. I'll weld this whole piece together and then weld it to the tank. Filler cap piece, filler neck extension. I'm going to go ahead and tack these together and then go back over to the tank and make sure that it's going to line up right. Should be good. So I have everything set up here, have my piece all tacked together. Now if I set that on there, 5 3/8 of an inch, we're right perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to weld this piece complete first, and then very carefully try to hold it to the tank and tack it in place, measure again, and then we'll weld it up. All right, because I can't hold it, I have it set up on some 2x4s and a roll of tape. All my measurements are good, so it's time to do some more welding. All right, now that I have it tacked, I'm going to double check my measurements one more time and then finish weld it, and hopefully this works. I wish I had the car here to try it out. All right, here we are, all welded up. This is our finished product. Now, my hope is where the neck rises here isn't going to get into the body of the car, but like I said before, taking the whole neck out of the tank would have been a lot more work, probably wouldn't have fit as good. So Ben is going to let me know if this fits, but with our pie cut here, this piece of stainless was the same size as the original neck, so we just welded on the original filler cap here. I think it's going to work out good for him. A whole lot better than what we started with. I put a 2x4 under the tank so you can kind of get an idea of what it's going to be like sitting in the car. Of course, this will be flat against the trunk floor. So we still have, hopefully, enough fall in that filler neck. About the same as we had on the original tank. So now I'm going to sit back in the chair for a little bit and relax. Hopefully this is helpful for the Edsel community. I don't get to work on the old stuff much anymore, but it's always fun when I do. Ben told me he's going to post this on a couple of the Edsel boards on Facebook, stuff like that. So hopefully this will get you guys on the road again. Edsels to me have always been a really cool car. Some people love them and then everyone else hates them. I don't know why. I always thought the design was really cool. So guys, be sure that you follow me on Instagram. I try to post up there daily. Check that out. I want to thank you for watching. Good luck to all you Edsel guys out there, and we'll see you next time.